Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mommyingwhilemuslim podcast. This is Uzma.
And this is Ava Hassan. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
We are so glad you're joining
Assalamu
us on
alaikum.
another Facebook Live and another weekly recording for our podcast. Ziba, how was your week?
Our weeks are always I always say like the days are long, but the years are short because I feel like it's constantly frenzied. But the one scary thing, which I did want to talk about this week that happened, and thank God for the app that's called Life 360 for all parents that have older kids. That is an amazing app, which literally kind of, like my son calls me, uh, like he thinks that I try to go and like watch his every step, but I really don't. But the reality of the situation is I don't harass him because when I want to know where he is, I can kind of click the app and kind of see. But on Friday evening, he was out with a couple of friends, as he likes to do on Fridays, and my app alerted that he was speeding, and of course I was getting really irritated and very upset. I'm like, let me watch this crazy what he's doing. And I kept noticing he was like driving in circles and going pretty quickly. And I mean, honestly, I was just like thinking, are you drag racing somebody? Like, what are you doing? So I call him and I'm like, what the heck are you doing right now? And he is panicked that somebody was trying to run him off the road. So literally somebody was
Oh no.
following him, trying to run him off the road at 11 o'clock at night. And of course, being the teenager that he is, doesn't quite know how to handle that situation. And thank God it alerted me for the speed. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even thought to call him. And of course, was able to talk him and walk him off of a ledge. But it was kind of our first life lesson in the sense that, okay, we never really talked about. I'm pretty sure he saw they were at a game earlier. I'm sure he might have said something annoying. I mean, this is what it's like the worst population, they're just those that annoying
Not good
population. That's just
decisions.
how it is. Let's just be honest. And he perhaps ticked somebody off and then they followed him. And, it's very scary. And I realized that I kind of didn't do my parenting duty and explaining to him what you would do. Like I've thought about this for my daughter, like safety, not being pulled over, we've started talking about this, but I never thought to have this type of conversation with him. So it was kind of a lesson learned for both of us. And please talk to your kids about road safety, what to do in a circumstance like that. I told them next time, go to a public place, call me. Don't spend 20 minutes trying to outrace somebody and, like just make a better decision. But it also made me realize that despite how big he is, he's still a baby at heart and he still needs a lot more guidance. So that was kind of my lesson learned mama moment this week. But I know you had your own in an interaction exchange that happened yesterday that I was a little like, what in the world is going on right now?
Seriously, I totally got into it with someone on social media, and I feel like the last time I did was last year when we had those right-wing extremists come on our page, and we were going back and forth with them. But it's the first negative social media interaction I've had with anybody in a really long time because our audience is awesome. Their questions, their comments are always so great and engaging. But apparently, there's all kinds of, I guess, wolves in sheep's clothing on social media, and it's really important for us to have our own insight about what we're projecting out there. But it was somebody who, I don't know, it was something really little that you picked up on like, it was Muslim ethnic identity in America. And I was providing some statistics, and, she didn't like that I was countering the cherry-picked statistics that she chose to present because she was trying to say something that was factually inaccurate, and she did not appreciate my pointing it out. And I think I did it really nicely. I mean, you read what I said. And here's the thing,
I
like,
did. You were very
everybody needs
nice.
a mama moment, right? I reached out to Ziba too because I'm like, Ziba, what do I do? This lady's crazy.
And then I'm like, if you're crazy,
There was no
my
life
philosophy
lock.
and what I tell, there's no, and honestly, you're not going to be able to get along with everybody. Like that's the truth of it. And
Hmm.
and we all should agree to disagree, and
To
I
disagree.
essentially was telling Elizabeth, stop engaging. Just don't engage, because this is the type of person that's just not going to understand your point of view. So wasting your time and breath and your emotional energy on somebody so negative is just not worth it. But in social media, part of the things that I learned is you can project a more aggressive front than you would in having in-person dialogue. So worst case
Right.
scenario, be like, let's meet for coffee and hash it out, because it's just not worth the aggravation.
Yeah. In a well-lit public area.
Exactly. McDonald's parking lot is what I told my son. So guess what? It is
Yeah.
what it is. But I do have to say, for us, it's Super Tuesday tomorrow. We are very excited about, doing our own civic engagement and trying to get out the vote. That's something, Mommyingwhilemuslim, regardless of what your party lines are or who you ultimately want to vote for, you need to do your civic duty. And part of what we're going to do, and probably annoy people for the next couple of months, is really focus on getting out the vote, doing what you can, whatever that happens to be, and whoever you want to support, because that's our basic right as American citizens. And I definitely am going to be voting in tomorrow's Super Tuesday here in the DMV
Yay.
area, and I am very excited to do that. But I am just as excited, and we've been working on this for a couple of weeks now, and introducing our next guest, who happens to be our new resident expert in positive parenting. Her name is Maryam Munir. Assalamu alaikum, Maryam. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Mariam, I think your microphone is still on mute.
You're still on mute.
Thank you. Yes.
You're so
Excited to be
so I'm
here.
like, this is Maryam, who's joining us coincidentally from Pakistan today, because she is there on some family business. But I wanted to take a little bit of time to introduce her to our audience. She is a certified positive discipline educator and parent consultant, and she is the founder of the Parent Empowerment Project, which is a nonprofit organization that educates parents and caretakers about respectful parenting. Her workshops and teachings are based on her background in psychology, neuroscience, and Islamic teachings on raising children. We are very excited to have you join our team today. Welcome, Maryam.
Thank you so much. That was a much fancier sounding introduction than I, feel than I feel that I am. But thank you so much. I am so excited to be with you ladies. I am so honored. And I can't wait to join you every month, right? We're doing this once a month, and it's going to be
We're
so
going to
much
be
fun.
doing it once a
Thank
month
you.
and talking about different topics about positive parenting, discipline, how to interact with your children in a more productive way. So we really, really appreciate you joining and rounding out our team.
Yeah, same here. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to learn more about your audience and answer their questions and queries and find out what we're doing here. And I loved hearing your stories earlier. I'm glad your son was
Tell us a
okay.
little
We
bit
do,
about
yeah, exactly.
Tell us a little bit about your mom's story, Mariam, because there's a lot that you had to go through to be a mom, just like we did. So, just to get our audience to know you a little bit better.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I dealt with infertility for some 7 years before finally going ahead with an IVF and having a son who's now 7 years old, mashallah. And after that, I didn't run into any problems, and I had back-to-back kids. I had a daughter a couple years later, and then I had twins of all things. And alhamdulillah, like you just never saw that coming. And the twins are now 3, mashallah. So I have 7, 5, 3, and 3. So they changed it. And the funny thing is, when we did the IVF with our son, the doctor asked us, do you want to implant 2 embryos? Do you want twins? And we were like, no, we're okay. We're okay with 1. And so Allah had other plans for us. And but yes, that was a very painful journey, and it's something that I love to talk about because I feel like in our culture, in our society, it's just not really something people are comfortable talking about. People feel very alone. I definitely felt very alone. And so I also lead a support group once a month for ladies dealing with infertility. And that's something, I mean, we do meetings in Northern Virginia in Centerville, if anybody's interested. It's just a free meetings, volunteer on a volunteer basis. So yeah, I'm so fortunate. I feel so blessed to be here as a mom today, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Actually, it's
And
so
then we
funny
get on
because
this roller
I
coaster ride.
essentially exactly. That's exactly right. So I just wanted to put a little bit of history and background. We belong to a mutual Muslim group in the Northern Virginia area, and somebody had posed a parenting question that Maryam had so eloquently answered, and very much in line with my personal philosophy on parenting. So what happened was I ended up cyber stalking her for a long time, and then reading more about her and being like, I
That's
just
so
need to
flattering.
meet this woman and talk to this woman. And then she has done and accomplished so many great things. So one of the things that I really wanted to focus on is your nonprofit. So did you want to tell our audience a little bit about that and what you
Yes.
hope to accomplish with running that? Because that's a big part of your journey as a parent right now.
Yes, absolutely. So I as a parent, I had imagined this perfect, kind of like a Kodak moment parenthood life, when I had my IVF son. After so many years of wanting children, I was like, it's gonna be beautiful. We're gonna take walks in the park, and I'm gonna put him to bed, and he's gonna fall asleep, and it's just all gonna be great. And of course, that's not at all what real motherhood looks like. So around the time that my son was 2 was when I had this moment of a really dark moment, honestly. And I feel it's hard for me to share even at this point, but I share it because I know we've all been there when we get so frustrated with our our children being children. And so I remember like yelling at my 2-year-old, and I was like, this is not okay, this can't be okay, this is not how motherhood was meant to be. There's got to be a better way to do this. And so that's when I started looking into I started reading parenting books, and I really it was really a matter of finding the right path. And as soon as I started to read more about respectful parenting, I was like, this is it. This is who I am as a person, and this is who I want to be as a parent. So, alhamdulillah, like it immediately changed my relationship with my toddler. And then I ended up having, another toddler. So at some point, I had 4 kids born under. And alhamdulillah, it was very hard. It was very hard.
Oh my God.
It wasn't hard. But it was not as hard as I had thought it would be, because I really believe it was because of my journey with, as a respectful parent. And so I was like, I have got to share this stuff with people, And also I feel like as parents, we feel judged so much. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of like, I don't know, weird random stuff that we get judged on. If you're too, if you discipline your child in public, people think you're too strict. If you don't discipline them, people think you're too soft. You can never get it right. I feel like parents can never get it right. And I was like, you know what? I don't find that helpful. I don't find this judgment helpful. I feel like if all parents love their children, they want to do right by them. And if I can provide them the right tools, if I can help them, they will make great choices. They want to make great choices. And so that's why I started the Parent Empowerment Project. And I love this name because that's exactly, I think, what parents need is to be empowered, to be supported. And I never thought it would take off the way that it did, with all populations, with Americans, expatriates, everybody just is alhamdulillah, people have been so appreciative, and I'm just so blessed that I'm able to become part of people's parenting journeys.
That's awesome. Now, the Empowerment Project on their website has lots of different workshops that you've made available to people. Can you talk a little bit about those workshops, the status of those, and how you plan to bring that experience to our audience at Mommying While Muslim?
Yeah, so yeah, I started off by doing workshops, and right now I'm doing a lot of consultations and online videos and online interactions. But I definitely want to, especially since I talked to Zeba, and I'm really excited about doing more workshops in the Northern Virginia area, because really, truly, there's nothing like the in-person experience that you have when there are parents sitting right in front of you. And my workshops are always very interactive and fun, and we do activities, and we kind of get parents to really think. It's not really, it's not rocket science when we think a little bit about how children are also people, and they also want to be treated like people. Parents usually have a very great, way of realizing, yeah, of course children want to be treated like people, duh. So I think that's what the workshops, in-person workshops, do. They have an immediate effect. And so inshallah, I'm really excited that we're going to plan something. Inshallah, as soon as I get back to the US, I'm going to start talking about it with you ladies. And maybe in April, I think we'll definitely
Yeah.
be good to go. And we have new space, right? And
we have new space. Super excited about that. Yeah, definitely. So, like,
yes.
for people that don't know the movement called respectful parenting, right? We've heard the buzzwords a couple of different times. Like, it is the
Yes.
buzzword of the parenting movement right
Yes.
now. And Uzma and I are more of the
absolutely.
older parents. Like, so we kind of have a blend. I was more old school and more traditional with my older two. I'm not gonna lie, and then a little bit more respectful parenting as the more I've learned and grown in my own personal journey. But for the people in our audience that don't actually understand what that term means, could you give a little bit of background and insight into what respectful parenting actually is and how you incorporate it into the Muslim world?
Yes. So, my favorite part about respectful parenting for me as a Muslim, my first step is always when I learn about something new and, which people are calling amazing. My first thing is, how does it align with my values as a Muslim? What does Islam have to say about this? So that's always my first check. I call it my Muslim check. And Alhamdulillah, I was shocked at how Islam, the things that Islam has told us, and how to treat children with kindness and compassion, and how the Prophet Rasulullah SAW really met children at their level, and played with them, joked with them. And there's really no example that we can find of him disciplining them harshly, or giving them timeouts, or and the fact that we're not even supposed to even talk about salat with them before, in a harsh manner, before they're 10, and until 7 it's like just play, fun times. So all of this really ties in so well with what neuroscience is now telling us about children, that until age 7, they only understand the language of fun. Don't push stuff on them, and they learn. It's not that they don't learn naturally. They came into this world loving and wanting to learn, so they do learn. It's just our idea of how children learn is a little bit different from how they actually learn, and not just how they learn, but how they thrive. So we want them to thrive. We don't want them to just survive their childhood. We want them to thrive. And they're just such delightful, creative, joyful creatures. And that's what respectful parenting does, is it thrives on their joy. It helps us bring out the best in them. So I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit harder as a parent to parent this way, because you're not trying to control your children. The idea is, like in Islam, how the idea of a community is very popular. It's very, the basic idea is that if you are made to feel like you're part of a community, you're going to want to contribute. This is going to be, so your family is like a little community where people take care of each other. The parents take care of their children are they understand what my parents want from me, and my parents love me, and they love me the way I am. Even when I make mistakes, they love me. It doesn't mean one thing that respectful parenting is not, and a lot of people think it is that there are no boundaries. Oh, so we're just going to be nice to them, that's it, and we're going to expect them to do great just by being nice to them. No, we are always going to be nice to them, but we are also going to nicely set boundaries, because children feel safe with boundaries. So we're not at all saying there's no boundaries, just do whatever anytime you want. No, children feel safe with boundaries. They need boundaries. But how we set boundaries is everything. And yes, there are no punishments, there are no logical consequences, but there are consequences. There are natural consequences to your choices, the choices that we make. So it's really just a matter of connecting with our children and going from that angle, going from the angle of connection. If I build connection with you, Zeba, and with you, Uzma, you are going to want to help me when I'm struggling. I'm going to want to help you when you're struggling. And that's the idea behind respectful parenting, that when our children don't listen to us, it's because they're struggling. So we're going to help them. We're not going to punish them for struggling. And because we have done the work to build loving connections with them, they know we're on their side and they listen to us. So I hope that explains.
So we'll reap
it,
those
kind of
benefits.
ties
Totally.
everything together. Yes, exactly.
And that for us is for me and for Uzma is pretty much the foundation of what Mommyingwhilemuslim is, right? Is a support group for
Absolutely.
mothers in similar search situations, because we're all on, like you said, this parenting journey together. And I really appreciated your thought when you're saying, when we've built a connection with each other, we want to help each other succeed and grow. And that literally is the fundamental foundation of what Mommyingwhilemuslim is. So that is one of the main reasons why I was super excited to have you be a part of this journey with us. And I'm so much looking forward to all the fun things we're going to have planned for our audience and bringing to them. And I know, Uzma, like we've been trying to on our own, even though we have the older kids, constantly learn and grow. We're in a lot of different parenting classes ourselves, because if you're just stagnant, you're never going to grow. And like I said, this respectful parenting has definitely really resonated with me, and I wish I had this even 10 years ago. So I really appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm in
it's
the
a
same
journey,
boat where it's like there's so much
like
regret.
you say. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying that it is a journey. It's definitely a journey. It's a journey of this is also one of my favorite parts about respectful parenting, is that you grow as a person. There is no, one mom, I talked to one of my clients the other day, she's talking to me about her teenager and everything. And I told her I guided her. And she said, so basically what you're saying is that I need to become a better person. And I was like, yes.
Exactly.
And she was like, well, that's hard, but definitely makes sense. It definitely makes sense. If I want my kid to be a better kid, I have to be a better mom. And I was like, yes, I know it's not easy, but definitely you reap the rewards. There's an element of joyfulness that I just, I know that it's not there when we parent from a place of fear and control. Go ahead, Usman, please.
That's exactly right.
We had an issue recently with one of our kids who has some anxiety, and then the behaviors result from that anxiety. And so my husband was like, we're just going to take everything away. And, we parent very differently, because we come from very different family histories, neither of which I would recommend for people who have kids. So I've been trying to learn the positive parenting and put it into practice, because I don't feel like it's ever too late. For those of us out there who may think that it's too late to change, that's actually an anti-Islamic sentiment, because in Islam, we continue to question, we continue to learn, we continue to improve ourselves with the application of this new knowledge for the benefit of ourselves and certainly for our children and our families. So my husband was was like, we're going to take everything away
Absolutely.
and we're just going to be really mean to him. And I'm like, honey, that's not going to solve anything because the problem is the anxiety. It's not him, it's this condition that he
Hmm.
has. We need to learn more about that. And we need to learn how to show him
Yes.
better coping skills than throwing a stapler at his brother's head, which is exactly what had happened. And of
That's
course, it
exactly.
happened at Sunday school.
Yeah. Oh
So
no.
he was like,
Yes.
wait a minute. So we have to parent ourselves before we parent our kids. And I was like, exactly. Ding, ding, ding.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I just on my Facebook group finished doing a series called Healing Ourselves because we can't move forward. We tend to get stuck in a place if we're not able to heal our own childhood traumas. And when I use the word
Yes.
trauma, people think I'm talking about some kind of horrible things that happen, and certainly
Abuse.
they do happen to people, but that's not trauma. Can really just be as simple as you being very afraid of your parents. Like, I think a lot of us just grew up being very afraid of our parents, where we didn't feel like we could talk to them, and our parents were doing
Hmm.
the best we can. I always make sure to say that they really were doing the best they can with the tools that they had. So this is not at all about shaming them or being ungrateful to them. But we have to face our trauma to be able to move forward. And so yes, this parenting is a lot about healing ourselves. And because if we're not healed, how are we going to help our children become people with wonderful mental health and stability and all those great wonderful things that we want to see in them as adults?
And
So,
the
so you're
integrity and the
saying,
character. I
so
think
I
that's really
100%
important.
agree
People
with
say,
you.
but me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And you hit the nail on the head. Like trauma can be actual trauma, trauma can be perceived trauma. Like these are all things that we as first or second generation American Muslims had to face because our parents were coming here from another country. And to your point, they parented out of fear. Because this was the fear of the unknown, right? So they did the best they
Mm-hmm.
could with what they have, but we now know better, and in knowing better,
Mm-hmm.
we should strive to do better. That's just kind of my personal
Yes,
philosophy on that. But I agree. Like
absolutely.
I feel like I have definitely, I'm not by any means a perfect parent, but I'm definitely learning to make better choices as a parent because I've taken the time to heal myself, and that is the
Yeah,
truth of it.
absolutely.
And you do that like because mental
Yeah.
health wasn't necessarily something that we talked about back in our day, but that I'm really, for me personally, it's
Yeah,
my personal
absolutely.
journey in trying to make myself, the coping skills and things that weren't given as kids, and to pass that along to our children with the thought that they'll probably going to go to therapy to talk about me one day. I'm just going to own that, but my hopes is maybe we'll do therapy together and then we can kind of go from there.
Yes.
But it's never too late.
That's so funny because I often think about I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna accept that my children are gonna go to a therapist. I want them to go to a therapist. It's just how much are they gonna talk about me? Hopefully I can keep it to a low. Hopefully there'll be other things for them
That's
to sort through.
exactly right.
But yeah, I mean, it is parent. I don't think the point of this kind of parenting is not to be a perfect parent at all, and that's a big thing that I like to
Right.
talk about all the time, because there's no thing as perfect parents. There's no thing as such thing as trying to be a perfectionist is can become toxic very fast. So that's definitely not our aim. And like Osma, you said that in Islam we have this idea and this concept that it's never too late to get on the right path, and it's really getting on that path that is everything. And once you're on it,
I think we froze video for a second, but we will get Mariam back on shortly. Um, Mariam did mention her the Parent Empowerment Project. I believe she said it's a page, but a group, but Zeba, it's a page, right? Because that's where I've found her information. We'll make sure that that's linked up in the show notes as well as their website. Currently, there's no workshops listed, but what Zeba and I are looking forward to, let's kind of share that, Zeba, because not everybody lives in the Northern Virginia area from our listenership. So let's talk about what we are going to have available for our audience.
So obviously, we're going to try to do the in person, like Mariam said, to the extent that we can. But we are excited to offer the opportunity of online workshops for people, just because I do think that. We all need as much help and access to resources. And quite frankly, I like Uzma and I are constantly working on content that we wish that um, we could have had access to when we were in the throes and the thick of it. We're kind of coming off on the other end. And I have to say, I'm really excited about the collaboration that we're going to be working on. And I know with Uzma, like we've
Yeah, same
literally
here.
been, we always say that oh, there she is. Yay.
Yeah, she's back.
Sorry, I don't know why I lost connection, but yeah, I'm glad to be back.
Hey, we figure you're on another
But I'm
hemisphere,
glad you're
so that
black.
makes sense. We expected a lot
And
worse,
the
so this
fact
is
that you're
awesome.
making time for us is so great.
Yeah. We
No,
were just talking
absolutely,
about
because we've been
making
trying to
you
schedule this for so long.
mhm. We were just talking about while you were getting back on, the value of having resources and multiple different resources to make our parenting better and, provide respectful, positive parenting to our children and to our families because we didn't have those, early on in our
Yes,
mothering journeys, in our careers as moms. And so,
yes,
the idea that, oh, very much, especially in healthcare where, is the world that I live in, trauma perpetuates trauma. I actually think that's probably in every single realm, but in certain jobs, in certain areas, people think that, oh, this is paying your dues. So if I suffered, then the generations after me must suffer. But I think that we need to break that chain,
hmm,
especially when it comes to parenting. This is how my parents did it, and this is how their parents did it. And that may be the case, but just because we endured trauma and came out the other end doesn't mean that everybody is able to do it. So we need to make sure that we break that chain and make it easier for the next generation of moms, for the next
hmm,
generation of kids. And maybe there's going to be
yes,
better information in the coming generations, but we want,
yes,
these online resources available. That's why we created this podcast medium so that if a mom is at a soccer field or a baseball field, she can just pop on a webinar and there's Maryam and she can ask her some questions and she can listen to our
yeah,
podcast and hear you talk about positive parenting.
yes,
And
absolutely. You're
and and,
so
and, and
right, especially sorry, should I keep talking? Okay. Yeah, I was
no,
saying
please
that
do.
you talked about breaking the cycle of the trauma and not passing it on to your children. And what I see is more than anything else, life is full of struggles. There's always going to be struggles. No matter how we parent our children, they're going to face struggles. But what I see with children who were, and I get really excited when I meet someone who was parented respectfully with the same ideas and concepts when they were young. For some, I mean, it's not it's rare, but it's not impossible. And so what I see in those people is that they really have a love for themselves. They appreciate themselves. They don't wallow in shame, and this allows them to go out and do great things in the world. And not perpetuating trauma is like you're planting a beautiful seed in the world that's going to grow and bear fruit and that others are going to benefit from. So it's really a gift that we give to the world when we try to deal with our own trauma and raise children um, not from our traumatized selves.
Yes. Sorry, we
I think
have
we're
a
ready
little
for
bit of a
whatever
lag,
comment you had,
ladies.
Zeba.
But and break.
The lag, yeah.
Oh, yes. I was just saying, and the lag, sorry about that. The cycle, in breaking the cycle, we can kind of continue personal growth and perhaps help the next generation of American Muslims. So I am very much excited to have Maryam for Mommyingwhilemuslim as a resource. Our hopes is that we can set up a Facebook Live with her um, where she can go ahead and answer some of those tough questions that we have as parents and don't know where to get the answers from. So, look forward to that and look forward to the collaboration on future workshops and in classes. And I am so thankful you were able to join us from all the way across the world. And we really look forward to working with you in the future, inshallah.
Thank you so much. I'm also so glad that we were able to do this. I'm so glad we found each other. It's, somebody shared a beautiful hadith with me today, which reminded me of you ladies. That said that souls that connect with each other find each other. It's a beautiful hadith. I'll actually post it on
Yes,
the group,
SubhanAllah.
the exact wordings of it.
Please.
And I was like, wow, subhanAllah. Yes, it's such a joy to find souls that you I'm going to learn from you. I'm so excited to learn. And you have older children. And so, I'm going to, we're going to talk about that. I'm so excited to learn what you ladies have been doing with your kids. It's definitely learning for me also, and so exciting. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks everybody for joining us on another episode of Momming While Muslim, and we'll catch you all next week. Assalamu alaikum.